responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
All right, welcome. Glad you're with us on this August 26, 2025. I'm going to be joined by Aaron with an update out of Israel. Israel's being accused of bombing a hospital. It's all over the news. Oh, the Jew haters love when these kind of incidents occur because they can use them to say, see, we told you. It's the genocide. It's the genocide. Well, what is the real truth? We're going to get to that with Aaron. And then we're going to be joined by Usama Dakdok. The South is being, what did I say? Usama? Shahram Hadian, thank you. The South is being conquered. The South is being absolutely conquered, folks. Islam is growing big time in the South. And no one's really speaking up about it. Just a very small percentage. Where are your pastors? Where are the men? Now, what I'm finding is that there are people, and even people that live in my community, that will say things like, hey, Brandon, have you noticed? All the Muslims moving into the Mid-South. What's going on? I'm like, hello? I've been telling you about Yasser Qadi since like 2008, 2009. Nobody wanted to pay attention. The guy was a rock star, if you will, in the Islamic world, still is. Banned, according to reports, and going into Europe, and he's got a mosque right down the road. Right down the road. But the chief of police in our area at the time didn't have a clue who Yasser Qadi was. When I told him, he was like, what? Like, oh yeah, he had Siraj Wahhaj speak at his mosque, an unindicted co-conspirator in the bombing of the World Trade Center. What? Like, yeah. Your law enforcement aren't even keeping up with who is the imam at the mosque and who they're bringing into town. And there are very few citizens in the South that will pay attention to shows like this, listen to shows like this. They're too interested in being entertained. And so if the South, which is predominantly the Bible Belt, is falling to Islam, and it is, what hope is there really for the country when it comes to stopping the spread of a religious system that openly calls for the eradication of Christians and Jews? Hey, Americans, newsflash, the Jews can leave and go to Israel. You cannot. They have a lifeboat. You do not. But boy, they all love Jesus down here. Really, I'd like to say, what Jesus is that? What Jesus? Now, some of them do love Jesus, no doubt about it. But many of them, they have made a interfaith Jesus. And they think interfaith dialogue and all this is wonderful. And they've succumbed to a political correctness in the Bible Belt. It's not the same political correctness of the left. No, it's a Christianized, if you will, political correctness. Oh, I want to talk to Shahram Hadian about this. Now, I'm from here, okay? Born in Jackson, Mississippi. My parents were born and raised here. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, and on. I can go to the family cemetery that I was at about 2 weekends ago. Show you family members back to the Civil War. I love going there. I love walking the cemetery and looking at the gravestones and the dates. And of course, I know a lot of the folks that are buried there. I got burial plots there. I show my kids. See all this area right here, this open area, this open space? That's where we'll be. I'll be, unless the rapture happens. I don't find it creepy at all. My wife doesn't care for it so much, but she's gaining a bigger interest in it because of the family history there. So I love the South. But I'm very disappointed in my fellow Southerners. And any of you that are fellow Southerners that are listening to this broadcast, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know. I think it's the lack of persecution here. They're apathetic. We got no problem here. Most people are patriotic. Most people don't go around using the Lord's name in vain. In fact, that's very well looked down on. People will take off their hat, bow their head, and pray before football games, city council meetings. It is a very strong Christian culture here. Politically, economically, it's very conservative. I love living here. But let me just tell you that Christian conservative culture has caused many people to think, oh, it's fine here. The problems are in Detroit. They're in New York. They're in Minneapolis, where you have all these Islamic communists running for office. It's great down here. And in many respects, it is. But Islam is getting a foothold. And many of the pastors here in the South, like up north, I'm sure, but many of them here, they're not touching this topic. They have too many city council members and members of the county commission that go to their churches. They don't want to be seen as political. Many have been told that this is a great mission field, but yet they have no knowledge about Islam. So how could they even refute the lies of Islam? No, many of their children and grandchildren will be converted to it. So I want to talk with Shahram today, why Islam is targeting now the South, the Bible Belt. Let me tell you something. You want to go to the Bible Belt? Can I tell you where? I've told you before where the real Bible Belt is. The real Bible Belt is through parts of Iowa, parts of Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin. These would be the real Bible belts, the real Bible Belt. Why do I say that? Because these folks, they know what it means to be a Christian, to say publicly, yes, I'm a Christian. Here in the South, it's cultural Christianity. There is not a respect for even cultural Christianity in the North. If you go to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, your neighbors probably think you're crazy. You have to know what you believe and be able to defend it. They see the threats. Here in where I live, there's not a lot of threats. Thus, there's apathy. There's something to be said for the church to have a little bit of persecution and friction just to keep you toned up, in good shape, spiritually and mentally. To be ready to give a reason for the hope you profess, to know about the different worldviews competing for hearts and minds. When we hold conferences, folks, and we want a good turnout, do we come to Memphis? No, we're going to have our conference in Memphis this year because I'm tired of traveling. But next year, I may move it somewhere else. And if I were to move it where I wanted to actually have people show up, I'd move it to somewhere in Wisconsin. A nice location where people from Minnesota and Iowa and Illinois and parts of Wisconsin could get there. Because you see, those folks know what it means to face persecution. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take for the folks in the South to wake up. Now, again, they vote. They vote. Many of them show up and vote. But beyond that, they're not going to do much more than that because they don't really see much of a threat. And I hear this from some of my friends who are lifelong Southerners. They were born and raised here multiple generations, and they just can't get their friends to be interested in any of the topics that we talk about here. Some of them are trying to convince their family and friends to show up at our Worldview Weekend. Hey, it's in our backyard. Nope, sorry, there's a ball game to go to. Nah, that's probably too deep. Yeah. And that apathy and lack of discernment and knowledge, and then that the Bible says my people perish for lack of what? Knowledge, acquisition of truth from a biblical worldview, from the Bible. And it causes what? My people perish spiritually, but also physically. There is a spiritual war going on, and the South is being conquered by Islam because the self-professing Christian doesn't have the knowledge to stand up, to confront it, to defend the faith, to refute, to refute the lie that Muslims and Christians worship the same God. Most people around where I live, if you were to ask them about Hamas, when did it start? Who's the organization that started it? They wouldn't know what you're talking about. Muslim Brotherhood? They wouldn't know what that is. They would have no idea. CARE? They don't know what that is. If you were to ask them, can you tell me why Muslims and Christians don't worship the same God? They couldn't tell you why. Now you say, well, Brandon, to be fair, they probably couldn't tell you that in other parts of the country either, too. True, but they're not classified as the Bible Belt. People here pride themselves in being Christians in this Christian culture, but they can't defend the foundational doctrines of Christianity. But they can tell you all about the football teams. Oh, yeah. Apparently some country singer just showed up in town over the weekend. I wouldn't know him if he punched me in the face. What's his name? Luke Bryant. Apparently he showed up in town and ate at a local restaurant, and people were going crazy. I'm like, if I had been in that restaurant, I wouldn't have even known who the dude was when he walked in the door. But they all knew who this country singer was, and man, there are so many of them that are upset they weren't in that restaurant at that time when he was in there eating. I guess apparently he was here for a football game, was it? Of his kid. Oh yeah, they know all about sports and this SEC team. But if you were to ask them here in the Bible Belt, you know Jesus is God. Hey, I've been really considering the claims of Christ as a seeker. How do I know Jesus is God? Most of them couldn't tell you that. Recently in my neighborhood, the Latter-day Saints, the Jehovah's Witnesses came knocking on the door. I don't think they would get very far because most people, again, do claim Christianity in the South. But how many of them could actually engage the Mormons or the Jehovah's Witnesses or any of those groups if they were to start challenging their faith? So the South is ripe. The South is ripe to fall. And if the Bible Belt can fall, then anywhere can fall. That's what you would think. So I want to talk to Shahram Hadian because he's dealing with this firsthand. He's dealing with this firsthand. Put my earpiece in so I can hear the music. He's never lived in the South. He's come from Washington State. He's a little frustrated with his time here. We'll hear about it on the other side. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
All right, so Shahram Hadian is going to join us in a few minutes to talk about several stories, including my opening monologue. But joining me first is our reporter on the ground in Israel. And tonight, we're going to be playing on Brandon House Live. We're going to get a tour from Aaron, our latest tour from Aaron. We're going to talk about also Israel is making international news again, supposedly killing a bunch of innocent do-gooders, sweet, decent people who are feeding the poor and just the salt of the earth. They got killed, these poor people, by the genocidal Israelis. That's what we're being told. These are sweet, decent people. You'd all love to have them stay in your home and be your neighbors. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. They weren't sweet, gentle, nice people serving the poor and the infirmed in a hospital. They were jihadis taking up position in a hospital. And they got their just reward. But it's making international news. Joining me to talk about this and more is Aaron. Aaron, I hardly recognized you. You did something. What happened, my friend? You had a goatee and a mustache and a little beard, right?
I think I did, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't recognize you. Like, Logan, you got the wrong guy.
I don't recognize myself.
What provoked this?
Well, you know, I told my kids when I was 40 that I'm going to shave off my goatee, and I didn't do it. Then when I got to 50, I said the same thing, I didn't do it. Now I just turned 60, I did it.
Well, I must say it takes 10 years off your age.
Oh, really? Well, I'm going to grow it back straight away because I don't like it and I don't recognize myself.
Well, you do. You look a lot younger, I must tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, for what it's worth. All right, hey, before we get to Israel, I want to talk about America. If the Bible Belt is asleep and Islam's taking over in Tennessee and Texas and other places, which it is, the Israelis or the Jews, even if they're not, quote, Israelis, the Jews, they have a lifeboat. It's called Israel. They can get out of here. We can't. We have no lifeboat. This is it for us, Americans, that are not Jews. What do you make of that?
What do I make of that, Brennan? Prepare yourselves now. Get ready now. This threat is not going to go away. It's only going to get stronger. These people, they don't care about this life. We know that. This life to them is it's a fantasy. They're living for the afterlife. They're motivated for the afterlife. So they are growing and growing, and they look at people like you, like me, like the average person, the West, as evil, as people that are infidels who are not following the truth. This is their mentality. This is their ideology. So I would say, if you're listening, get yourselves ready. Do something about it. Arm yourself. Certainly pray. That's a no-brainer. And reach out to these Muslims, because a lot of these Muslims, they're not happy. A lot of Muslims that became believers, Brandon, they said deep down they knew that they were believing a lie. They knew it deep down. But there's a community. There's a brotherhood. There's a cause that motivates them and keeps them on that trajectory. So prepare yourself. Get ready, because it's not going to get easier.
No, it's sure not. Look at this. This is Hamas leader Mohammed al-Zahar. It's in Arabic, I think, so it doesn't mean anything to us, but it's been translated by Memory, which is a very trusted group. And of course, I can have Usama listen to it as well. That they're stating their goal is to wipe out all Christians and Jewish people across the world and to, quote, create a world where Judaism and Christianity do not exist, end quote. Now, the average self-described Christian in America, and certainly here in the Bible Belt, would have no idea that this is the stated goal unless they have been trained in understanding Islam, and most of them haven't. And, this is the problem. This is a spiritual battle, and you have people like Justin Peters over and over telling people on video that Islam is not a threat to the church, right? And you have others like James White having interfaith dialogue with that Jew-hating, Holocaust-denying, Hitler-defending, jihadi-preaching imam James White, was doing that with Yasser Qadi. And again, when we pointed it out, who did we get the most egregious attack from? So-called Christians. I hate to tell you, but the more I study the last days, the more I believe Islam is going to grow and grow and grow. And I don't know if it's at Gog Magog where it's really cut down, but I think Islam is going to be such a major part of Antichrist and his hunting of Christians and killing them with the axe or the sword. What say you?
Well, we already know that there's at least 2 billion of them in the world now, and they're out there. They're recruiting, and a number of them, Brandon, they're educated. They're educated into AI, into high tech. Then some of them even in Israel, they're in high positions. They're getting more and more educated. They're keeping up. Actually, in some ways, they're keeping ahead in the ways of the world. So I can see that happening. I can see them getting part of the system. But I do believe in the promise of Genesis 3, when the Lord said that the seed of the woman will crush the serpent's head. Yes, but I also believe that the seed of the serpent will try to bruise his heel. And I believe that Islam is part of that, Brandon. They are part of the offspring of Satan that are trying to bruise the movement of God. That's all they are. And you know what? You don't have to be a Muslim to do that. You're either part of the seed of the woman or part of the seed of the serpent. And this is a big part, and it's a huge part, and it is growing, absolutely.
Here's a Palestinian activist, Mimri again. This is a Palestinian activist. Quote, "We're fighting the Jews, not just Zionism. Westerners should shut up when we talk and give us aid, whether they like it or not, and we won't thank them. I wish for World War III so the whole world is destroyed," end quote.
And guess what, Brennan? Westerners are going to shut up and they're going to give her food. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying. Westerners should shut up and give us food. And that's what Westerners will do because they're weak, because they've been drunk. They're drunk with being bullied. They're not strong enough. These people are strong. They're remember what David said when he turned up? He said, "Is there not a cause?" What's the average Christian's cause? You and I, we have a cause. We're fighting for the truth. We're fighting for God's kingdom. A lot of Christians, they need to grab hold of the cause. These Muslims, they've got a cause. They've got a cause for jihad, for the caliphate, for the Sharia law, and they're determined to bring it about. That's why they're winning, and the Christians are not winning.
100%. 100%. All right.
But Brandon, having said that, let's not forget the promise of the Lord when he did say he will build his church and the gates of hell shall not prevail. So we need to remember that.
Right. But that doesn't mean that we're automatically granted immunity in America from persecution or that the church will always thrive and be salt and light throughout America. The church may have to go underground, but it will not be crushed, right? So it doesn't mean, which a lot of people use those verses to somehow think that everything's fine. We're guaranteed will always be cool for us. Everything will be good for us, right?
Right.
Now, what? And of course, we're showing on the TV side these growing scenes of the Islamists packing out towns and downtowns in various parts of America, Great Britain. And of course, Great Britain, the Christians in Great Britain, or even self-described Christians in Great Britain. And by the way, that's in Texas. This video of them slapping their chest and doing all that. Texas has fallen, okay? It's absolutely fallen. But Great Britain, there's another video. That's Michigan, okay?
Unbelievable.
Great Britain is falling. Now it's apparently a huge problem to raise the flag in Great Britain that has the cross on it. Are you aware of this, Aaron?
That I did not hear. I heard that today Trump signed against burning the flag in the United States. But
yeah, that's here. But I'm talking about raising the UK. Okay, I have it over at worldviewreport.com. But here it is. UK has fallen. The flag of England is now considered hate speech.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? If Churchill were alive today, he would be the first to warn of an icon curtain descending along Brighton, London, and Newcastle, in which shadow freedom is lost, where speech is silent and the political system exists to enable Islamofascists to silence the few remaining patriots resisting them. The United Kingdom has chosen to use 1984 as an instruction manual. Someone tweeted, it's actually sad that the council authorities despise the will of the people so much that they'll even tear down England's own flag just to deny the right to be proud of England. The council has stated that Operation Raise the Colors England flags will be promptly removed. This is all over social media. Okay?
Right.
And there's video of them removing the flag with what is the cross.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to offend the Islamists.
Yeah. Where are the police? Where are the authorities? And I have been reading, Brennan, that there are groups rising up. They're fed up of seeing this.
Yeah.
I don't know how big the numbers are, but either it's going to take something like a spiritual revival or bloodshed, some kind of civil war.
And you know what? One reason I think white dudes are getting attracted to Islam, maybe for the fact that Islam, in many ways, is not a feminine religion, right? Islam is not a feminine religion. Christianity, so-called in America, has become very much a feminine Christianity. Go to the average church, quote church, in America, and you have a feminine music leader, a lot of them, right? A feminine music leader. You have feminine music by and large. No onward Christian soldier marching as to war. Oh no, war! We can't have that. Soldiers, right? It's like, what's his face? The guy that died at the Crystal Cathedral who I interviewed once. Interviewed him once on the phone. He got mad at me. Robert Schuller. His church would sing Amazing Grace, but they would take out words like Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. They would take out that word wretch. I used to watch it on Sunday morning just to see how they would rewrite their hymns. And I can't remember the word they would put in, but they took out the word wretch. Schuller got mad at me in my interview with him once. I wish I'd recorded it. Because he said, you're so negative. You have to have positive thinking, right? And I was asking him, because he said things like the greatest threat to evangelism is the often crude, uncouth, and unchristian strategy of attempting to make people aware of their lost and sinful condition. He talked about all these negative things we talk about, like sin. And he was all about the power of positive thinking. Learned it from Norman Vincent Peale, who President Trump says greatly influenced him. Oh boy. Well, that's gotten into Christianity today, so-called. And we have a feminized Christianity compared to Islam. Come back, Texas cowboy converting to Islam.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. Over at... before I show you, I guess we got a cowboy converting to Islam. The UK, I got a video of it and audio. The UK has crashed and needs a reboot ASAP. In the most bizarre cultural fight you can imagine, some UK governments are racing to tear down English flags as soon as Britons put them up. Apparently displaying the flag of England is considered hate speech. European conservative, Union Jacks, and St. George's flags have been cropping up across the country over the last few weeks, being hung on lamp posts by groups of patriots. The movement appears to have begun in Birmingham, organized online before spreading to Norwich, Bradford, Newcastle, Swindon, and even London. As you might expect, the flags are being swiftly removed by local councils. Birmingham's Labour-run city council started pulling them down last week, citing health and safety concerns. The flags fixed to lampposts 25 feet in the air apparently put the lives of motorists and pedestrians at risk. This might have been a believable, if idiotic, excuse had the same council not allowed Palestinian flags to fly across the city, which is almost 30% Muslims, unhindered since October 7th, 2023. That's right, because they're scared of them. And they're taking their money, their Islamic money. This is also the same council that just last week lit the city's library up in green and white to celebrate Pakistan's Independence Day. Birmingham City Council officials were caught admitting in leaked emails earlier this year that they were too scared to take down the Palestinian flags without police assistance. That's because they're cowards. Islam is I would say, in many regards, if it's not perceived as being masculine, it's at least perceived as being a religion of warriors. And, of course, they're a religion of terrorists. Of course, they're intimidating the weak-kneed cowards in America, which include many of your sheriffs and sheriff departments and police departments who want to do interfaith dialogue and play kumbaya with them. But Islam apparently is appealing to some men around the world in the prisons, but also in America in the South. It's a masculine religion as opposed to the feminized Christianity we see in American churches with the feminized music. I'm sorry, most men, this is one reason why I had to bail. Most men are not going to stand there and sing these girly songs. That's why I love the hymns. Those are anything but girly. A mighty fortress is our God, and can it be? Amazing Grace, Onward Christian Soldier. These are masculine songs. They're deep in theology and doctrine. But you would listen to the average so-called songs they sing today, and they would stand there and they sing them forever, and I don't know them, I don't want to know them. Their words are so self-centered. They don't invoke any worship. Most of them, some of them, and maybe a few do, but most of them, I'm thinking, this is such feminized garbage. And you look around and the average masculine man is not tuned in. He's there because his wife has dragged him there. We don't have fiery preaching. We don't have open your Bible and let's talk about the issues you're facing today and how we should respond biblically. We get very little of that anymore. What we do get is a lot of pop culture, but not a lot of biblical answers. And now we can't talk about Israel or the Middle East because that'll divide the church, and we have to have as many nickels and noses as we can, so we can't talk about that topic. Because some of them now believe that the Jews are no longer in God's plan. And so we'll just not talk about that. And we're not going to talk about Bible prophecy because then we have to actually pick a side of what we are as far as our end time beliefs. So we can't talk about that. So much of what's going on in the world, they can't talk about it if their objective is nickels and noses. And it is. And then there's Islam. They don't care what you think. Clearly, unless they're trying to deceive you with taqiyya Then they'll play nice with the the ignorant police chiefs and sheriffs and get them to do interfaith dialogue, and the ignorant pastors and politicians. But you go into their mosques, or you talk to the real leaders of Islam, they'll tell you straight up, this is our objective. This is, I think, in Texas. Listen to this. This is a cowboy. Listen to this. This isn't a mosque. Listen.
All right. I testify.
I testify.
There is no God worthy of worship.
There is no God worthy of worship.
Except Allah.
Except Allah.
And I testify.
I testify.
That Muhammad.
That Muhammad.
Is the servant and messenger of Allah.
Is the servant and messenger of Allah.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
That's in Texas. And that's in Texas. And that's how I started out my broadcast. The South is falling. The Bible Belt is falling. Christianity, so-called today, is not what it is. Not biblical Christianity, most by and large. As I said, it is a feminized pop psychology, and most men are turned off. And then there stands Islam, which with its butchery and desire to conquer, go to war, die for a cause. Most Christians today, they're about to die if the pastor doesn't get out in time because they got to get to the buffet, particularly down here in the South. Woo-hoo! Got to get to that buffet. Got to get the best seat. Don't want to stand in line. Got to get some chicken. They're all antsy because the pastor went a little too long. They get upset because the pastor preaches on Revelation. That's scary. Let me know, pastor, when you're done with teaching through the book of Revelation so I can come back. I literally know of a pastor here in the Mid-South that had the seniors in the church upset. He was teaching Revelation. It was too scary. They didn't want to hear it. Let me know when you're done with that. I'll be back. And there's Islam. Comment from you, Aaron, before I go to get a response from Shahram.
You know what I'm thinking, Brandon? I'm thinking back to the dark and the Middle Ages when Islam was sweeping through places like Europe, where Christianity was weak, being trodden down. There was a monasticism, attitude, spirit, and it was looked upon as saintly, godly. But then rose up Pope Urban II in the year 1095, and he called upon the First Crusade. Now, I'm not advocating that, but we need to pray for our religious, our Christian and Catholic leaders, that they would wake up, that they would lead by example, that the Spirit of God would move upon them, and that they would lead their flocks, lead their sheep, and that their eyes would be open. That's what is in my heart, Brandon. And it may take something like that, or at least to be prepared for something like that for the future. That's where I see it heading.
And Aaron, we're going to play tonight your latest tour. Where did you go? 30 seconds.
I believe it was Jericho.
Yep, you did. Jericho.
Yes, Jericho. I wasn't able to march around the walls as fast as I would have liked to. Maybe 30 years ago I could have done it, but not anymore. It was very hot. I wasn't able to blow the shofar, but yeah, I'm going to be speaking at.
And we're going to play that tonight, brought to you by our foundation that sends regular love offerings to our guest, reporter, and tour guide, digital tour guide for us, Aaron, at worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Brandon. God bless.
You too, my friend. Let's go quickly to Shahram Hadian, former Muslim from Iran, Christian pastor. He's now joined us here in the Mid-South. I was talking in my opening monologue, Shahram, about the fact that the Mid-South, much of the Bible Belt actually, is absolutely asleep. And that Islam is taking over Tennessee and Texas, and that much of Christianity today has become so feminized. And yet Islam is a barbaric, savage, murderous, jihadist organization. but it's anything but feminized, right? And yet we have Americans converting. We just played a video of a cowboy converting to Islam in Texas in a mosque. What are your thoughts on the conversion of Americans to Islam and the rejection of this modern feminized Christianity that's not biblical Christianity at all that showed up? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I, as always, I really appreciate your commentary because I think you got to the heart of the matter. You know, a lot of times we can look at symptoms or we can look at the root cause. And really, the root cause, as Aaron just pointed out, of why Islam continues to grow so dominantly in the West is because, one, we have abandoned the Judeo-Christian foundation, and two, the Judeo-Christian foundation teaches the strength of men, the idea of men being men and being protectors and being providers, and of course, as Christians, being the spiritual leaders of our homes. You're absolutely right. So many feminized pastors, so many wimpy. Western Christianity is wimpy. It's absolutely, in many cases, powerless. And that's why, to your point, we see the advancement and the attraction. That is why, what is the number one place that you see people being converted to Islam? It is in the prisons. And oftentimes, Brandon, it is because those young men that are in those prisons are coming from broken homes, broken families, broken communities. They have gang affiliations where they see structure. Now Islam shows up, and Islam gives them that structure that sadly Christianity is not, because we've lost discipleship. We've lost structure in the church. It's just feel what you feel, be what you want to be, go where you want to go, do what you want to do. And we've lost the discipleship and the discipline and the structure that the Bible gives us. And what God is a God of order, not chaos or confusion, and we've lost that.
Yep, we have. And now, speak to the fact that what else would appeal to many today to convert to Islam? How about, hey, you get to have more than one wife. You can actually have a wife for an hour. I mean, are there any, what we would call fleshly, sexual attractions of Islam, maybe to the American male?
Well, you mentioned the main one, which is that if Islam takes over, that they would be able to have 4 wives. Of course, the promise of martyrdom. Let's not forget that they believe that if they are martyred for the sake of jihad, for the sake of Islam, that not only are they promised the 72 black-haired beauties in paradise, because for them, paradise is apparently a sexual orgy. It's not where the Bible tells us we're going to be in the presence and glory of God and an eternity spent with God. It is a sexual perversion in their version of paradise. But also, let's not forget, it appeals to the heroic nature, because if you become a martyr, you are interceding and ushering in 70 of your family members also into heaven. So it makes the martyr much more of a hero in the family. And again, culturally, where they see the LGBT, effeminate, trans movement, when they see all these things, which of course, Brandon, let's not forget, the Muslims support
hold right there.
that.
The computer's going to grab it. Don't go away. More with Shahram Hadian on the other side.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Belly Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
All right, Shahram, the proliferation of pornography in our culture, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to get back to the issue of Islam. Islam allows you to cheat on your wife, does it not? Could that be one of the appeals to more modern men in America?
I mean, certainly it does. And not only will you mention the idea of the 1 hour marriage, which is more Shia Islam. The Sunnis sometimes reject that concept, but certainly the Shia Muslims accept the concept of you can go out and basically have an affair, but they call it a 1 hour marriage. But even with 4 wives, right? The idea of having 4 wives, the idea of 4 wives being able to take care of the family, you can have more children with 4 wives. I mean, it is all supposedly the appeal, but I think that appeal is only there because of the destruction of courage and manlyhood, and that's why the proliferation is there. And also, one more thing, Brandon, it is the destruction of our courage to stand up and speak. I mean, think about the optics of a cowboy in Texas being converted to Islam in a mosque, where he's standing there like a sheep, just following along with the Shahada. That's what he was saying there, was the Shahada. He was professing that there's no God but supposedly Allah and their perverted prophet Muhammad. So think about the optics of that. Think about how demoralizing that is for for strong manhood when you got a cowboy being converted to Islam with no there's no fight, there's no pushback, there's no. Does he understand what that means? Does he understand what he's doing to his family, to his community, to his country? No, that's the deception. And then, of course, they're taking away our ability to even speak.
Speak to this real quick before we run out of time, Shahram. Speak to the issue of what you're facing, okay? I talked about the fact that I think the South is falling. Texas is falling. Tennessee is falling. You've now come from the West Coast, okay? What culture shock have you had here as far as the shallow Christianity, the cultural Christianity you've now encountered after 4 years now, 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years in Tennessee. We left the darkest part of the country. Washington typically competes with Oregon for, the most unchurched. We come to the South, the buckle of the Bible Belt, Tennessee, and it's supposed to be the most churched. And yet what I've seen has been not only no different, even the activists here, many, not all, because there's always a great remnant of activists that are fighting for freedom and liberty and our constitutional republic. But my goodness, the churches is what has shocked me, because you think that with so many churches that there would be at least a higher percentage of openness and wake up and alertness to these things. But you already nailed it. Bible prophecy is completely rejected. Israel is completely rejected. Speaking on anything that's a threat to the gospel, completely rejected. We don't want to offend anybody. This is worse here in many cases because it is the complacency. It is the normalcy bias. It is we're safe, we're conservative, we're going to be fine, don't worry about it. And that's what I'm hearing here in Tennessee, which makes it so hard for us to get our message out in our own backyard. Like, we're here, right? We're available to go and speak and educate people. And yet, we got to travel to other parts of the country like Minnesota and Wisconsin and other parts to get this word out, because so many here in the Bible Belt are absolutely asleep or pathetically compromised by the wokeness and we don't want to offend anybody.
So there's a political correctness on the right in the Bible Belt. They're opposed to the woke ideology, but there is a type of political correctness in the Bible Belt itself.
Agreed 100%. And that political correctness is again, to me, it's the same spirit, because you still don't want to offend. And the idea that even the truth becomes offensive. So, yeah, you're right. You may not see the wokeness for the DEI and some of the other things there, but you certainly see it towards certain truth. And then we see this political correctness regarding Israel, regarding Bible prophecy, because so many of these churches have been infiltrated with postmillennialism, with kingdom now theology, with the idea that, we're going to make everything great again. And that's why I've warned for the last number of years, be careful with this mantra of great again, golden age. I mean, what are we making America great again? Because the Muslims are claiming they're making America great again with Islam. And we're not pushing back at all against them.
Okay, so
and
tell
now
me,
they're
before I run out of
against
time,
our free speech.
Before I run out of time, tell me, why is it you think that you and I can go to Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Iowa? Why is it we can go to these markets and hold a Worldview weekend or an event and you speak and we have people turn out versus try holding something like this in the Bible Belt? The numbers are they just don't care. They just don't care. Why is that, you think? I think I have my opinion. I've shared it. Why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of what we've already been saying. There's an element of complacency, whereas in those areas, because when you start seeing it more in your face, like we did in Washington State, with Minnesota, with Michigan, with Wisconsin, it does tend to wake you up, right? And I think a part of it is that complacency. Part of it is we're safe here in the South. We're conservative. We're red. We don't have to worry about it, which is, of course, completely false because we know how much this red-green axis is targeting Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida, and so forth and so on. But the second part of it, I think, does go to the condition of the church, because when you are in an area, Brandon, that is less conservative, more liberal, there's more opposition to the gospel, it tends to fire you up. It tends to refine you versus the complacency of a so-called Bible Belt that makes you completely pathetically weak.
And isn't that interesting? In the tribulation period, so many people are becoming believers, right?
Yes.
And one has to wonder if it's the persecution that in part is fueling the revival.
Always, right? What do we see in China, in Iran? What do we see in some of the North African countries that are heavily persecuted by Islam? What we see is that always God uses that to fire up the church. And uses that to refine the church. So that would be the number one thing I see, is that we are too comfortable here in the South. We're too focused on entertainment. We're too focused on our sports. We're too focused on, just making sure we make a good living. And we have forsaken the urgency, the burden, the fire, the commitment to the Lord. And I mean, as you know, we are doing house church because we believe that God's getting us ready for the days to come before, as more persecution is increasing globally. And that's just a fact, by the way, even if it's not happening in the South per se. And yet we're having a lot of people down here, they don't even understand what a house church is.
TILministry.com, TILministry.com. Shahram Hadian, thank you so much. Stay tuned for Crosstalk. Take care.
This has been...
And we're back with WROS and you here on Worldview Tube. Now, folks, this is all very serious. We are talking about the fact that Islam is taking over the South. Would you have thought that 10 years ago? 15 years ago? 20 years ago? No, you wouldn't. It is literally, they're conquering Texas. They're conquering Tennessee. And all I'm doing is lifting up a shout and warning people. Florida is falling. Are you aware of the massive mosque being built in Florida? Logan, do you have some of that video footage? In Florida? Go ahead and show that. What's that you're showing? Yeah, that's prison. I saw that the other day. Let's play that back there. This is they're sitting around eating, and this is Islam in our prisons. And I saw that video the other day.
Look at all the ox. Look at all the ox. Allahu Akbar.
They're in our prisons converting people to Islam. You know, if you do a little search, Logan, you might find the video that I'm referring to down in Florida. I saw it today. I don't know if I emailed it to myself or not to show on television. But, no, I guess I didn't. But they're building huge Islamic centers in Florida as well. Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and the pulpits of the Bible Belt are 99.9% silent. I have to wonder if one reason the pulpits are so silent is because so many of the deacons in the South are Masons, and many of them at the highest level are Shriners, and the Shriners wear the crescent moon and the sword of Islam on their little red fez and swear an oath to Allah. Play this video, Logan. This is in Florida, right, Logan? This is in Florida. This is Florida right here. This video.
We are in the new land right now. You can see, mashallah, the constructions working behind us. We have a huge land, 6 acres, mashallah.
The community is outgrowing this small and humble place.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with all of you with his generosity, like you supported our masjid, you defended our future leaders, our youth.
They're showing for WROS in Jacksonville, they're showing the landscaping, the building, the grounds. They are out recruiting, folks. They are out recruiting and building and growing. Location. And you know what?
It's a unique location.
It's a unique location, the guy says.
Close to about like 30 to 40 families that are in our community live close by this area, and the zoning is the key, which it permits place of worship and school.
One of the most important aspects of Project Orange is to make it accessible to the wider American community.
Project here in Claremont, Florida. First and foremost, Jazakumullahu khairan. Everything you see in وَرَسُولِهِ وَتُجَاهِدُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ.
These are huge facilities. These are huge facilities they're building. Schools, houses.
As mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, encouraged the community to reflect on the history and contributions of Muslims in Temple Terrace through the celebration of Ramadan and Muslim Heritage Month. And so, very good, sir.
Oh yeah. You know what?
Excited and thrilled to have
you guys make me sick. You yellow-bellied hirelings. You're not pastors. And you feminized, wimpy policemen, police chiefs, sheriff deputies, sheriffs, city council members, county council members. You're ignorant, most of you, because you choose to be stupid. And you religious leaders, so-called, you're going to be held account by God for this. You really are. The South is falling. We see it all around us. We've entertained ourselves to death. Hedonism, the pursuit of pleasure. And now the enemies are coming in. You better wake up, folks. Take care.